On July 24th, President Trump issued an executive order which he titled Ending Crime and Disorder on America's Streets.
What does that have to do with homelessness? Produce the proof of what you said to be true, because no studies have shown that. I would also remind him that homelessness grew at just as rapid a rate during the previous time he was in office. No, you don't use words like rounding up, cleaning up the streets.
I think that it really makes local citizens like you and I fearful.
How many homeless people do you think Donald Trump or any one of those people in Washington has? Come on.
He has a very jaded view of what a homeless person is. And I think he's trying to paint a picture to fit his narrative.
You can't snap your fingers and say, okay, we're going to open up places and they're going to be staffed with qualified people. My concern is we're going to cage people.
You know, the long-term institutional settings, is this just going to be a glorified jail cell?
This is important, folks.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I've been homeless. I can't even imagine what's going on right now. Pastorally speaking, I'm a little pissed off that people who claim to love God like I do are on board with this.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tracy Lewis from Imagine, and I'm joined by Pastor Scott, who is the CEO and founder of Matthew's Hope, as well as Shelley Bradford, who is the president and executive director of Matthew's Hope. This podcast is produced, filmed, and edited by our amazing John Burkett with Imagine. Welcome to this week's episode of Straight Talk, No BS with Matthew's Hope, presented by Imagine Marketing. At Imagine Marketing, we put in the extra effort to craft a tailored strategy for success. We also offer photography, videography, and even podcast production services like this one. Book a free consultation today. In this episode, we will be talking about one of President Trump's most recent executive orders and how it will impact our country's unhoused populations. On July 24th, President Trump issued an executive order which he titled Ending Crime and Disorder on America's Streets. In Section 1, under Purpose and Policy, he outlined the following, and I quote, "Endemic vagrancy, disorderly behavior, sudden confrontations, and violent attacks have made our cities unsafe. The number of individuals living on the streets in the United States on a single night during the last year of previous administration, 274,224, was the highest ever recorded. The overwhelming majority of these individuals are addicted to drugs, have a mental health condition, or both. Nearly 2/3 of homeless individuals report having regularly used hard drugs like methamphetamines, cocaine, or opioids in their lifetime. An equally large share of homeless individuals reported suffering from mental health conditions. The federal government and the states have spent tens and billions of dollars on failed programs that address homelessness, but not to its root cause, leaving other citizens vulnerable to public safety threats. Shifting homeless individuals into long-term institutional settings for humane treatments through the appropriate use of civil commitment will restore public order. Surrendering our cities and citizens to disorder and fear is neither compassionate to the homeless nor other citizens. My administration will take a new approach focused on protecting public safety." End of quote. Any thoughts on what the president laid out here?
I would first off say, well, that's a lot. I would first state that, and if Mr. Trump were sitting here right now, I'd say produce the proof of what you said to be true, because no studies have shown that. I would also remind him that homelessness grew at just as rapid a rate during the previous time he was in office. So why he's blaming us and another administration, quite honestly, homelessness has grown through the past several administrations. Things have gotten worse. We do not, first off, and I would tell anybody, those of you can see me, I'm looking at the camera right now, I will tell you that we do not have a drug problem here in the United States. We have a mental health problem here in the United States. And what's happening is people are self-medicating because they cannot get the proper care. And I'm not talking about full-blown mental illness. I'm talking about folks that 20 milligrams of Zoloft, which many of you are on, if you have that, it changes everything. Mm-hmm. And then go up from there. And then you get into mental illness. Do we need institutions? Yeah, sorry, we do. But we need to address that properly as well. What's first wrong, and I'll try to get off this rant and we can talk about it, but the first wrong is, how did he say, what did he call it again? The criminal, what is it?
Oh, the order, it's called
Ending Crime and
Ending
Disorder.
Crime and Disorder on American Streets.
Okay, what does that have to do with homelessness? For God's sakes, I don't care if you're Republican, a Democrat, or everything in between. If you look at the criminal facts and figures that are delivered across the nation to the FBI, literally, I believe it's quarterly or every month from every agency around the country, law enforcement agency, what they state is you are most likely to be a victim of a crime if you're homeless, number one. It will also tell you that the crimes these people are committing are often crimes of need.
Mhm.
Okay, stealing food. I saw where a gentleman, a single dad, was arrested recently for stealing diapers for his little girl. And though stealing is not okay, I think there's a better way to address that.
Right.
But when you make it almost impossible to work your way out of homelessness because our system is so failed and broken for several administrations, come on, let's call it what it is. This is horse shit. Pastorally speaking, I'm a little pissed off and a little discomfort that people who claim to love God like I do are on board with this. And those of you who want to send a nasty gram, bring it on, because honest to God, without trying to insult you, you are speaking out of ignorance. I'm not calling you stupid. There's a difference. Ignorance. Learn the facts and figures before you jump on a horse you have no idea where it's going. Okay, I'll shut up now.
First of all, I mean, unfortunately, so all the administrations blame the previous administration, and nobody's taking responsibility. And I think that's where we're going to see change, is somebody taking responsibility.
Right. Instead of just rolling. Oh, it
Yeah.
was them.
Oh,
It was them.
It was their fault. I don't care whose fault it was.
It doesn't matter
Let's
whose
fix
fault it is.
Let's fix it.
Okay. I mean, we literally, no matter which side you're on, which is ridiculous. Why do we have sides? We're Americans.
Shouldn't we be on the
Let's
same
try to
side?
get the thing fixed. But we have sides now. It's like two gangs getting the Bloods and the Crips to lunch. It's very hard to do. You can't get a Dem and Republican to agree about anything anymore. You can't even they can't even figure out how to meet halfway. And when they have a really important thing to take care of, they take a session break. How would you like to? First off, I love in my job, just every time I don't want to deal with something, I just take off and go home
Yeah, it's not
and
gonna
get paid
fixed that
pretty
way.
well for it
Right.
forever. But that's a whole nother issue. When we're looking at this, it's like, it doesn't really matter. What I will say is that it's time that we quit. Here's where I'm in agreement. Okay. We need to quit doing things the way we have. Okay. However, you just don't sweep them off the board. What you do is you identify what works, what doesn't work, and then fix what's wrong. Sometimes you do got to shoot the horse between the head and be done with it and move on. However, we spend most of our money in the United States on trying to treat symptoms rather than identifying causes.
Right.
I may have used this example in the past, but I use it all the time when I speak to people. I say, can you imagine a box of tissues here on my desk? And every time you sniffle, I hand you a tissue like I'm handing out a $100 bill. At some point, I need to step back and go, well, is it cold? Is it allergies? Allergies are terrible right now in Florida. Is it a cocaine habit like I had? If you don't peel back the onion and identify the cause, you will never fix anything. What you will do is keep flushing money down a dark hole. And every administration, including him the last time he was here, did that. So quit puffing your chest, sit down and get something done. And to clarify something, because there will be people, I can see, was it PETA? I'm not suggesting we shoot horses between the eyes. It's a metaphor. I'm also not suggesting we shoot people. I'm saying we shoot the program between the eyes. If it does not show results, look.
Which it hasn't.
Matthew's Hope is successful because we keep showing results. Yeah. Okay. We just went through our latest audit, independent audit, which we have to do every year. And it was discovered 20% is the benchmark for what your overhead should be. We're at 13%, meaning 87% of every dollar we spend is going directly to services.
Amazing.
Now, that's the first thing you need to look at. The next thing you look at is you go, okay, now I see how they're spending their money and it's going towards services. What differences are their services making? That's how you evaluate things. You do not just wipe the table clean and sit there and say, okay, we'll come up with something new. And unfortunately, we live in a world right now where that's what we're doing. And the amount of money that will be wasted and spent, by the way, there is no such thing as government money. There is taxpayer money, and these are taxpayer-funded public servants. It's time they act like public servants and serve the public. This is just one of many issues, but we're talking about homelessness, but you tie in addiction with that. I will tell you that the biggest issue we have right now, quite honestly, is seniors walking in here, never been homeless before. And that's 35% of everyone we're serving now is a senior, a baby boomer walking in here. That's a problem. Veterans walking in here. Why don't we fix that? That's a problem. Children walking here, 11% are 18 and under, 8% are college age students that have done nothing. That's a problem. Let's address the issue. Coming up with this idea of, if you look at the language throughout this whole thing, because I've had a lot of people go, oh, we have such a caring president. He's going to get these people this help, that help. Mm-hmm. No, you don't use words like rounding up, cleaning up the streets, criminalization, and all that kind of stuff.
Right. What are the dangers to the unhoused in our communities when authority figures issue proclamations like this, starting with the endemic vagrancies, disorderly behaviors, sudden confrontations, and violent attacks have made our cities unsafe?
I think that it really makes local citizens like you and I fearful.
Fear.
And really, the people that we work with, most of the time, we don't have a reason to be fearful of them. They're more fearful of how they're going to be treated than our concern of how we are going to be treated.
It's a false narrative that's being used to create votes and support for what they want to do. And again, it's not just the Republicans. So before anybody gets on that and sends me a note, if they knew me well enough and followed us over the years, they're going to see I had just as much to say about the Biden administration as I do about the current administration. And then going back, I've been doing this a long time, and it has aggravated me to no end the amount of money that we have thrown down a dark hole looking for an easy fix. There isn't an easy fix, but it's not as hard as they're making it. By the way, just in case anybody notices, I have my Bucky Beaver fidget toy right now, those that can see me, because I'm about to come out of my frickin' skin. And so I'm trying to keep my heart rate down, because this is important, folks. Mm-hmm. Look, I've been homeless. I can't even imagine what's going on right now. What we're seeing due to HB 1365, which then became state statute 1365 here in Florida, which basically made it illegal to sleep outside. Now this coming out. The level of anxiety with the homeless right now is something like we've never seen. And now you take someone who has some mental health issues, mm-hmm. who's not getting proper nutrition, who's not getting proper rest, and you are creating the perfect storm.
Right.
Now make that a soldier who has PTSD, mm-hmm. and he's got a cop putting a flashlight in his face at 2:00 in the morning and being told to wake up, and he comes up swinging.
We're a mom with 3 kids.
Yeah.
It just goes on. I had a gentleman the other day just bawl, and all he said was, I just want to sleep. Development, the camps are going away, so they're becoming more visible anyhow. But the law, when you sit there and you see the amount of increased suicide attempts, increased calls for Baker acting, increased loss of jobs, increased, I keep going. There's nothing good has come out of what Florida has done out of Tallahassee. And there's absolutely, in my opinion, nothing good. Not that anybody cares of my opinion, but there's nothing good that's come from this. Mm-hmm. If you want to address a problem, address with the problem. Don't try to scare the folks into believing. Now, Here's the thing. Before I get another, and John hates it when I use this term, another nasty gram. I'm not suggesting for a moment that there are not some bad and dangerous people out there. There are. Something I learned in seminary was they told us that 7% of our congregation would suffer some level of psychosis. Mm-hmm. That's a direct reflection on our society. Now, our homeless people and regular society, whatever you want to call us, it mirrors each other.
Right.
So it's like when someone said recently, well, a homeless person burnt down a house. Mm-hmm. That's not true. An arsonist burnt down the house that happened to be homeless. He suffers from mental illness because larceny is a form of mental illness, and he would have burned down damn houses anyhow.
Scott, before you even mentioned that a lot of your volunteers are women who go out and do, the mobile outreach and stuff. So that was like, wow, because people do try to put fear into the community that they're all dangerous.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's crazy right now. I think
Not that women can't
more
hold
than
their own,
95% of our
but,
well, more than 90. Well, and listen, the women that work with us, that's who I went in the trenches with me.
Sure.
But I will tell you, all kidding aside, more than 95% of our staff is female. If you look at our volunteers, over 95% of our volunteers are females over the age of 65. Mm-hmm. Exactly how dangerous are these homeless people? Again, not to downplay those of you that experience coming across a severely mentally ill homeless person. Okay. But, let's put it in perspective. Let's be honest about what the story is about, what the narrative is about, and then do something about it.
So in the last line of section 1, he stated, my administration will take a new approach focused on protecting public safety. Are the guests you serve not also part of the public, and don't they also deserve safety? Because you guys often, like you just mentioned, Shelley, that oftentimes you guys fear for their safety.
Right. I mean, I think that he just has a very jaded view of what a homeless person is. And
my God, listen, first off, he grew up with a silver spoon in his mouth. Okay.
I understand that.
First off, let's just make that really clear. How many homeless people do you think Donald Trump or any one of those people in Washington has come on. Sorry.
I lost my train of thought.
I did it to you.
But I just think that he has a very jaded view of what a homeless person is. And I think he's trying to paint a picture to fit his narrative of what he's trying to put in place. Mm. If what he's trying to put in place is put in place the right way, it could be very helpful. Mm-hmm. I have hope because of what I've seen happen in South Florida, that it's possible that it could happen fast, but it's going to have to happen fast because they've stopped a lot of programs that were helping these people in the gap. Mm-hmm. That now these people are now homeless as well. Mm-hmm. These extra people that they stopped these programs for. Mm-hmm.
Well, and I will say when I first read through it, and I have read through it several times. Most people haven't that have commented on it. We are probably in the best possible position as a ministry and organization serving the homeless than any one of our those that we work with out there. There are certain things in it. If they were slightly changed the wording and we're moving in that direction, we're already very focused on medical and mental health. We're investing heavily in that area. Most places aren't. We identified that as a key part of our ministry a long time ago and have invested heavily over the years, more so over the last few as resources have shown themselves.
Getting to the cause.
But yeah, so there's a possibility. I think the other issue we have here, because I think it was you asked the question about how do you word that? Your question, you said about, aren't they citizens? What do you say?
Right. Are the guests you serve not also part of the public, and don't they deserve to be protected?
Very interesting. See, here's the other thing though. See, we now throw out amendments based on whether they fit our narrative or not. According to Amendment 8, none of this should even be able to happen. But what I have found that each party likes to choose which amendments fall in their favor and which don't. So they work towards some and not towards other. If you're about gun rights, man, you're done. You are going to get the guns. Okay. Which I'm not a gun guy, but it's a completely different topic. But when schools are being shot up and kids are dying, I think we got a problem. But bring us back to focus. If you go back to understanding our amendments and how they're put into law, and how they're supposed to be, all of us, we're supposed to be equal. Mm-hmm. Whether, in fact, it will state, I believe also in 8, that you don't have to be a tax-paying citizen to have the same rights as the other citizens. Mm. And don't quote me on that it's number 8, but it is in our Constitution. And, I just recently went to Philadelphia, and we went to the Revolutionary War Museum. And then I was recently also at the Holocaust Museum, I believe in Washington, D.C. We've been a couple different places. And I looked at Charlene, and for those that you don't know, she's my better half, but she's also the director of Brevard County. I looked at her and I said, I am willing to bet everything I own that most every single legislative person from the city level on up to the federal government has never walked through these places read about them, and learned what the Constitution and what the Revolutionary War was created, and understanding that the United States is an experiment in democracy, but we are going backwards. Because once you start picking out a group of people, whether they be Black, whether they be disabled, I mean, here's the crazy part, disabled. And the reason I touch on that is because, can you imagine we're going to lock up people with physical and mental disabilities because they're undesirable? Because here's what it really states. I mean, we're rounding up the undesirables, what we don't want to see in our community.
Like,
and that's really sad when you think that, when you think of the elderly people we're saying that with no drug issues whatsoever. Again, I'll say it's 35% of all the new people we see. When you see the number of physically and mentally disabled coming in here that simply do not have the ability to care for themselves. And often the caregiver has died and they become homeless.
Right.
We can do better. Can't we?
I hope we can. So the executive order states that shifting homeless individuals into long-term institutional settings for humane treatment through the appropriate use of civil commitment will restore public order. Do you know what type of long-term institutions he's referring to?
Well, if you read through this whole thing, it's very vague.
Yeah.
It's super vague. And so it leaves itself into incredible amount of interpretation.
Right.
So what's acceptable?
Where my hope would be is that we would do there would be a program like what we already have in place of transitional housing to actually help these people learn how to live within the public setting again. That's what my hope would be. I think that you need very specific trained individuals for that. And I don't think that that's something that we can just snap our fingers and teach everybody the way the Matthews Hope transitional housing way fast enough.
Right. And you talk about mental health on that level. First off, the people that mostly need it can't afford it. Most of them don't have $150 to $200 an hour to sit down with mental health professionals, right? So that's one problem. There's also a shortage of mental health professionals nationwide. So you can't snap your fingers and say, okay, we're going to open up places and they're going to be staffed with qualified people. My concern is we're going to cage people, because that's just what we do. And in fact, a lot of people don't know this, but what's happening now is we're arresting these folks and we're putting in our local jails, and our local jails are flowing, but we're investing in more jails and prisons. And and again, check I'm going to say this, check everything I say. Because I don't talk out of my backside. I talk about facts and figures. If you look at studies, it shows $45,000 to $55,000 per homeless person to incarcerate them for a year. Can you imagine? Well, first off, we probably wouldn't be doing this podcast.
Right.
If I had $45,000 to $55,000 for every single homeless person. Okay. So again, it's much more expensive to incarcerate people than it actually is to.
Then at the incarceration, they just get thrown back into
then there's been
where they were before, and then it's just a vicious cycle.
Sometimes worse, because now they meet up with other people that are out there and they find each other. Next thing you know, once they're back on the streets, it's kind of like when we lock up a kid into a prison and they wonder why he comes out not to the idea behind prisons originally, if I remember right, was rehabilitation more than punishment. We don't rehabilitate anybody.
Right.
That's just show me that.
Well, and that's my concern where, the long-term institutional settings, is this just going to be a glorified jail cell?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's my concern.
It may not have bars, but it's me four walls.
Which is not what I would want to see. And I know that's not what you'd want to see.
I think if any of us with a heart really step back and think of it, can we think of anybody
who really want to make a difference? Like, are they really wanting to make a difference, or are they just
wanting to get them out of sight?
Well, again, it's collecting the desirables and getting them out of sight, out of mind. I think that if any of us were forced to, I include and challenge our legislative leaders in quotation marks. Is this what we want for a family member?
No.
Is this what we want for a friend?
I wouldn't think so.
For a mother?
For a mother. Yeah. I think that those of us that can't buy ourselves out of problems, which is most of us, would look at this and go, whether it's this or some of the other topics, no, this is not okay. but we all agree there's an issue, there's a crisis going on, and let's address it as such.
So Section 5 of this executive order is titled, quote, Increasing Accountability and Safety in America's Homelessness Programs. It also goes to state that these actions shall include, to the extent permitted by law, ending support for, quote, housing first policies that deprioritize accountability and fail to promote treatment, recovery, and self-sufficiency. What are your thoughts on this?
Anybody that's known me, I've been working with the homeless now for 20 years, and a little more than 15 was when I started Matthew's Hope. Those that know me know I'm not a huge housing first fan. That said, I don't believe you scrap it. I think what you do is you step back from it, properly fund it to make sure all the wraparound services are there. Mm-hmm. The one reason Matthew's Hope has been successful is we have a ton of wraparound services all under one roof. Okay. And that's not as hard to do as people think it is. And that's the challenge I see with that. Do I think scrapping it is right? No, I don't. I think I told someone the other day, if someone told me that Trump could end homelessness tomorrow, would I vote for him still? I'd have to step back and I have to know, well, what else does he think on other topics? The truth is, this particular piece of literature they've written really falls very much in our favor in various ways. I still don't like it because what it also does, it disrupts so many other things that it's going to create more problems for us. So my point being is that if any elected official came along and said, I can take care of this immediately, I'd want to stop and say, but what do you think about this topic and that topic and this? We vote too often on single issues. And though they could eliminate homelessness, I think that'd be wonderful. First, I don't believe that for a minute. Biblically, that's just not true. So this whole idea of eradicating homelessness is silly at best. But when you look at it hard, again, we need to take things and find what's working in it, what's not working in it, and then move it forward and then properly fund it. The challenge with most of this has been lack of funding. So though a lot of money has been spent, I agree. A lot of money has been wasted, I agree. But the approach has been, let's call it like cancer. We're going to do cancer surgery, but your cancer surgery, it's $100,000. And I'm just throwing numbers out there. We've only got 90,000. So we're going to cut out 90% of your cancer and hope for the best. Yeah. That's kind of how these things are these programs are funded. It's when you leave a little bit of cancer, chances are it's going to spread again. And so because they don't have the funding they need, that's exactly what's happening. The cancer just keeps flaring up as opposed to let's drive this thing until it's done.
Mm-hmm. So how challenging is it for someone to get treatment or become self-sufficient if they don't have a roof over their head or consistent rest?
I mean, they're just going to be always exhausted. And no matter the help that you try to give them, they're not going to be able to take it in and learn from it and grow from it because they're just going to be always so tired. I equate it to when I was in college. If I tried to pull an all-nighter, that test was just done. I couldn't do it, and that's the same with, trying to help these people. They're not going to remember what was their password for certain things. Who did what for them? Did Taylor do something for them? Did Teresa try to sign them up for Medicaid, or are they going to remember it backwards because they're just so tired, and so that's not going to help them move forward.
You're taking people and you act like you're stabilizing them on one foot and then kicking the other foot out from underneath them. When you take people again that are already not getting proper nutrition, not getting proper rest, and then you make those two things by the very laws you put into place even harder to get, what do you expect the outcome is going to be? I will tell you that if somebody wakes me up every few hours, at the very least, I'm going to be grumpy the next day.
Just not
do that to me day after day. Right. I'm coming out swinging.
Yeah.
Because human nature is such that we go into survival mode. When we go into survival mode, we make a lot of poor decisions.
Mhm.
Doing the wrong thing for the right reason is still the wrong thing. And so we really need to step back and understand that if we're going to create the storm, then at least let's give them the proper boat to ride the storm out in.
Right. Give them the proper tools. So Sherry, a former guest of Matthew's Hope, joined us recently, and she talked about being in survival mode and wanting things immediately. How difficult is it for someone to think or plan long term when they have to stay focused on surviving another day?
It's almost impossible. I mean, because all they're thinking about, and I see this with our housing guests all the time. They're just thinking of the next thing to do to graduate or to move to the next thing. They're not living in the moment and trying to take in what's being taught. And so we have to slow our guests down so many times of just slow down. You're gonna you'll thank us later. Right now, it really pretty much sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you'll see, a lot of people come in and they go, if I just had this,
If I
never
just
had my TED, if I just had a car, well, I should get the car business. If I just had a house that so we've got to redo that thinking a lot. And again, what happens is when you make it harder to get to services, to attain service. I mean, right now, we are literally where we used to be able to go out in the community and we knew where to go to identify who was who, where the predators are at, which is a whole nother topic. Now we're all mixed in. Before we knew where they were at. The people that, the NIMBYs stopped my backyard. Well, guess what? They're literally now in your backyard. Before they were in your neighborhood, they were down the street. Now they're in your backyard. These policies has created this problem. Now you take that person again, isn't getting proper nutrition, isn't getting proper rest. Here's not an answer. What happens then is everything else starts to fall apart.
You got to give them a firm foundation first. We learned that in Bible school.
Yeah.
But you've got to make sure that everybody has a firm foundation before you build them up even more and set them, free to a home. And you can't just give somebody something and know that they're going to be able to take care of it.
Good point.
Someone asked me the other day, said, Scott, why don't you run for office? And I just kind of laughed. I said, well, first off, they would have to spend years of trying to figure out what exactly I was in all that. But their point was, and I said, why would you say that? And they said, because you've compartmentalized different parts of homelessness and how to address it.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
that's not all the issues, though.
No, and it's not all. But the thing is, but in doing that, though, we're trying to address individuals. The three of us, as much as we may think about certain things like one of us is a male, two are female. One's a blonde, one has dark hair. One has a interracial marriage, the other one doesn't. Okay. Me, I have Charlene. I don't know what that is.
You sure we're not in interracial relationships because our people are from Jersey?
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, that's right.
Let's think about this.
But the point of saying that is that because of that, we have different needs and ways of thinking. So we have different lenses we look through. So we just try to throw a bunch of stuff on the wall and hoping that it sticks. That's just not going to happen. With the homeless people, they're individuals. We know their name. That's the first thing. Okay. We make sure they know they're seen and they're heard. We peel that onion back. And when you do that, now you got something to work with. It costs a little bit more up front. Long term, it saves a lot of time and money. Okay.
And success.
The success rate changes exponentially.
Mm-hmm.
It's not magic. It's not all that hard. And that's why they said so.
Is the homeless crisis across the nation one size fits all that can be addressed with a blanket or federal order?
Of course not. Well, first off, here's what I find interesting about this particular administration that went on, but talked about autonomy of states and smaller federal government. Okay. If anybody's seeing that, please, send me a note and tell me exactly where you saw that so I can understand it. It's not a one size fit all. It's not a one size fit all from one city to the next.
Right.
Of two cities, we're in 18, soon to be 36 municipalities.
Mm.
Okay. And each mayor, each city manager, each chief of police has a different thought on the very same thing and how it's being done and put into play. Um, so you got that one issue, okay? But and that's from a blanket issue, a blanket way of looking at it. But the truth is, how you deal with homelessness in a city area is going to be very different than how you deal with it out in a suburb area. Um, you have to look at everything. One thing that we do is we're able to move very fast. Out of our roughly $15 million budget this year, 6.2% is taxpayer funded. Okay. So it allows us to move very quickly and be very fluid. So as our demographic rapidly changes at times, we can move with it. And what happens is the way a lot of things are funded and thought out is rather than look at the ripple effect and going, geez, that's not working as well as we thought it should. Maybe we need to shift to the right, left, or just shoot it all together. They just keep shoving it through. So when you see a waste of money and you see no success, but you're also trying to sit there and go, I'm going to suggest that if everybody wears a red shirt, everything changes. That's just not true. You have to, and I know that people are going to sit there and go, oh my God, how do you do that? But you really do need to take people as individuals.
And it takes more time.
It takes a little bit more time. It really doesn't take that much more. It takes
but that's
more
okay. That's where people feel heard and feel seen. Is if you just take a little bit more time.
Well, and you're actually addressing the issue as opposed to getting this idea that we're going to make it all disappear. And realistically, let's say all this put us in place. I don't believe 4 years from now, when the next administration comes in, that they're going to leave it that way.
Right.
There has to be a way that we pass the baton on to the next whoever and say, okay, let's fix what didn't work and keep moving. And instead, what's happened, we've probably have set things back decades.
I just feel like the dignity in the United States as a whole has just gone to crap.
Oh, dignity and empathy.
Just gone to crap.
And I could actually spell empathy. And I'm not.
I can spell crap.
Okay? And you can say it. Those of you that don't get to see everything behind the scenes, sometimes she really struggles with some words.
It's not my skill.
All joking aside, how did we lose empathy?
Where did it go?
People?
Yeah.
And how did we think it was okay to treat others as though they're less? Dignity is, again, a key piece of why Matthew's Hope works. Treating people the way we want to be treated, treating people with respect, trying to help them help themselves. That, again, is something that kind of separates us. Do I think that we've got too much giveaway? Yeah. I thought it was ridiculous when the Obama administration sent checks to everybody out in New Orleans after the hurricane. People that lost everything suddenly had a $2,500 check and threw a flat screen TV in the car.
Right.
And they don't even have a house anymore.
Right.
Okay. When during the pandemic, when we said, the Biden administration said, you don't have to pay rents. Well, who was looking out for the owners of the properties? And those were most property, most people don't realize is still owned by mom and pops.
My dad, one of them.
Yeah. And
he
it really,
paid for a long time.
Some of them went bankrupt. Some of them have yet to recover.
Could have went homeless because of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, again, this whole idea of just throwing something out there and it's going to be a fix-all. No. I'm the same with food stamps. I really don't. As something I agree heavily in is I saw that one of the new food stamps, or ABT cards, as they're like to be called now, that they're going to eliminate junk food, soda, and one other thing.
It's about time.
About time.
It's about time.
Food stamps were designed to provide food for you as a bridge, a nutritional bridge, until you could do it yourself. Now it's become an everyday thing, which I don't know how I feel about that specifically. What I do feel about it, ridiculous, is that we're buying soda, candy, chips, and crap for people to eat with their food stamps, and then turn around, and now we're going to turn around and offer to take care of their teeth.
Figure out how to fix their teeth, right, and their health.
Come on, that's just stupid. Okay, so I agree. Look, there's some things that need to be fixed. That doesn't mean we get rid of food stamps.
Sure.
What we do is we look at those and see who qualifies. I watch soldiers every day that are not getting the care they need. And that was a promise made on the day we met with our recruiter. They'd take care of us. Charlene and I were in Philadelphia recently. And this guy, as though he knew I was coming for him, large black man. I say 6'5", a good 350 pound, big man. And as I'm coming down, he looks at, makes eye contact with me, just walks up to me and starts talking to me. And so we sat down with him. His name, oddly enough, I don't remember his last name, but his actual name is Marvin Gaye. Okay. Not the same last name. Okay. But that was his first and middle name, Marvin Gaye. Marvin was a sniper in the Marines. And he started to talk to us and he starts to cry. He goes, I just need a friend. He then said, I had buddies of mine that came back without arms and legs. And he takes his hand into his head and he kind of taps his head, but they aren't helping fix this. And he starts to cry. He says, my mama is even scared of me and I'm not here to hurt anybody. And I thought, my God, he's right. But even people with missing limbs, and we see them every day come in here, are being denied benefits.
That's crazy.
And in their paperwork, along with their DT-14, says they lost that limb in combat. And we're denying them over and over again. What kind of system is that? To the fact, then they get pushed into homelessness and they just give up.
No.
They just give up because their dignity and self-worth has been flushed down the toilet. And now the lie that was told to them that we're going to take care of you if you go fight for our country, that's a lie. And now they're sitting homeless and it's their fault, or it's their fault that they saw things that threw them out of their mental ability to centrally think. We should be doing everything we can rather than trying to sit there and go, well, they're mentally ill now, lock them up.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there anything else about this executive order that you guys want to address before we wrap up? I'm sure there's a lot more that you could say, but within this time.
I think we did a pretty good job of addressing it.
Yeah.
I would encourage our audience that if they have more questions or want to talk about it further, that they reach out to us. There's no question too hard. And I hope they see that at least I'm not afraid to talk about it. And I'm not always right.
And if they see a different viewpoint, come talk to us about it. We're willing to learn and
understanding and learning.
Figure out.
For everybody who wants to yell at me about I'm an independent, okay, get over it. Because I independently think and look at people for who they are, what they've done, and what they want to do. And when you do that, and you start examining what our candidates look like, you'd make very different decisions than what you thought you would have.
Yeah.
And I will remind people that our vote still counts.
Don't just go check a box.
This will fire a bunch of people up. This will be a great.
They don't know who they're voting for, or why they're voting for them. They just check a box.
That's
not helping.
This will be a great way to finish, though, because this will pump up the crowd. Okay.
Ready.
So we keep hearing about Trump's mandate. Okay, let's clarify this. The mandate was this: 37% of the registered voters in the United States didn't even vote because they've just given up. Trump got 35% of the vote, and then what was her name?
Harris,
yeah.
Harris got 32.
What was her name?
32%. The point being is, just because you say it often enough doesn't make it true.
Right.
Look it up. Don't believe anything I say. Go ahead and look it up for yourself. That's a mandate. Now, why do I bring that up? This is not about Trump. The mandate is that what have we done in our country that the people that even bothered to register to vote didn't even go to the polls? They've just given up. When you give up, you have no, in my opinion, right to argue about it or complain. You got what you look for. Okay. What I want to encourage people to do next round, Republican, Democrats alike, look at the individual,
right?
Look at the overall platform, not just what makes you, I want to carry a gun. Okay. I don't care. Carry your gun. I don't care. Conceal and carry. Otherwise, I just don't care. What I care about is what makes sense, and I care about what's right and what's wrong. And so, but I felt like I had to say something about that because 37% is very disturbing.
Yeah.
That's the mandate. And we need to bring those people back in the fold and let everybody's voices be heard and start treating this country as though it was the beautiful thing they wanted it to be, and it's not.
Right.
And it's still my favorite country, and I've been blessed to travel around the world. But it's becoming less and less as I traveled around the world. All my friends in my latest trip go, "What the hell is happening in your country? And why do you guys hate Canadians so bad?"
No.
I don't hate Canadians. In fact, I live in Florida, and the Canadians that come down here help make Florida a wonderful place. I don't want to chase anybody off that helps to make it a wonderful place. They bring their dollars here. They're not bringing them. That's a challenge. And nobody should fear coming to the United States. This would be the last place anyone should fear coming to. Now, before anybody sends me a note, do I believe that you belong in this country undocumented? I do not. But we have a system that has not been addressed for more than 50 years.
That is also broken.
Let's fix our immigration system. And then we won't waste money on walls and doing things that, quite honestly, 50 years from now, I think people are going to look back and go, "Boy, you spent a lot of money in that." Do you really think that a wall ultimately is going to stop anybody?
No.
It's just like our home. You can put an alarm on the door, but if somebody really wants to get in, they're coming in, they're going to come in.
Mm-hmm.
And, so let's just take a step back and fix it rather than just keep doing this.
Right. Well, thank you guys both for discussing this order and what you guys think about it. It is a packed order and not very clear with some of it. So we hope that it turns out okay. And
there's more clarity in the future.
I'm confident that what it will give us for the next few years is a lot of opportunities to talk about, because I will be the first one to congratulate the administration and anybody else that a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, we can look at it and say, we addressed the issue. Mm-hmm. We took care of the issue by taking care of the issue, not making it something that it wasn't.
And taking care of the person.
Yeah.
Thank you all for watching and listening. Please like, share, subscribe, send to a friend, and we'll see you next episode.